My name is Emma, and I am the only child in my family. After my mother passed away, my father became very depressed and developed a drinking habit. His temper worsened, and he often hit me. It wasn't until I went to college that I gradually escaped this torment.
Few days ago.
He was overjoyed and didn't touch a drop of alcohol for days. The woman was only a few years older than me and quite attractive, but I didn't like her very much.
She was good in many ways, eagerly doing housework at our home, which made my father smile more than ever. However, she had a condition for marrying my father, a dowry of 200,000 yuan.
To please the woman, my father readily agreed and took out all his savings. Little did he know, the next day, the woman disappeared without a trace, and even the matchmaker was swindled out of a significant amount of money.
This incident was a heavy blow to my father. He started drinking even more heavily and took out his frustrations on me, demanding money. If I didn't give him any, he would cause a scene at my school.
My living expenses were already tight from working part-time jobs, so I had no extra money to give him. But what could I do? He was still my father, and I couldn't ignore him. So, I had to take on more part-time jobs to earn extra money.
By chance, a roommate introduced me to a unique job, renting myself out.
In simple terms, people would pay to rent me for various tasks. For example, I could pretend to be someone's girlfriend and meet their parents, earning a decent amount of money for the act. Or I could temporarily be a game streamer, playing a few games and making anywhere from a few hundred to a few thousand yuan.
This line of work brought in money quickly, but it also meant dealing with all sorts of people, including some who crossed the line. Just a few minutes ago, I had accompanied an older man, around 50 years old.
His wife had left him for another man, and he was feeling down. He didn't want the company of a certain type of woman, preferring to talk to a college student like me.
I was somewhat reluctant, but the man offered a substantial amount of money, so I went. At first, he was quite decent, sharing his thoughts and grievances, crying pitifully. But as he drank more, he became more aggressive and tried to touch me. Terrified, I excused myself to the bathroom and quickly fled.
Back in the dormitory, I couldn't shake off the fear for a long time. The incident still haunted me. I had been forced to drink a lot, and my stomach felt uncomfortable. But looking at the money in my hand, I felt it was worth it. The man had given me over 2,000 yuan, which was my monthly living expense.
I put the money in my wallet, washed my face, and felt a bit more clear-headed. Lying on my bed, I thought about going home for a while. I had enough money now and wanted to take a break. But I decided to inform Sophia first.
I dialed her number, and she answered quickly. Hey, Sophia, I'm back. I wanted to tell you that I don't want to go.
Emma, wait. I'm busy.
I felt a rush of heat, my face flushing as I quickly hung up the phone. Sophia always said she would do anything as long as it wasn't illegal and paid well. She was determined to make money at any cost.
She came from a poor mountain village with no transportation to the city. Despite the odds, she managed to get into a prestigious high school in the city. During high school, she worked part-time jobs and saved every penny. After getting into college, she never went back home.
She often told me that money brought security, and she was willing to do anything to make a lot of it.
At the time, I didn't understand her mindset, but now I envied her. At least she was bold and carefree.
It was Sophia who introduced me to this line of work. I didn't know where she got her clients from, but the job was straightforward: do the task and get paid.
She had a wide range of clients, and I helped her with the simpler, less troublesome ones. I had only recently started, and it was enough to support myself and my father. However, I couldn't take the final step of selling myself. I had my limits, and even being touched made me feel disgusted, let alone doing anything more.
Just then, the phone rang again, pulling me out of my thoughts. I answered it.
Was it smooth? I just finished here too. How did it go on your end?
Sophia, I think this job is too dangerous. I was taken advantage of today, and I don't want to.
Okay, I'll deal with that client. Don't worry, I'll avoid him next time. By the way, there's a gig tonight. It's a drinking event with a 5,000 yuan reward. With that, you can afford to enroll in the CPA training course. You have such good grades, and there are so few spots in the school's exam. Don't you want to give it a try? This opportunity won't come again. The pay is good, and I guarantee it's safe.
It was Sophia who introduced me to this line of work. I didn't know where she got her clients from, but the job was straightforward: do the task and get paid. She had a wide range of clients, and I helped her with the simpler, less troublesome ones. I had only recently started, and it was enough to support myself and my father. However, I couldn't take the final step of compromising my values. I had my limits, and even being touched made me feel uncomfortable, let alone doing anything more. Just then, the phone rang again, pulling me out of my thoughts. I answered it.
Was it smooth? I just finished here too. How did it go on your end?
I laughed awkwardly, feeling uncomfortable at the memory of her earlier breathing. After a moment of silence, I replied.
Sophia, I think this job is too risky. I was taken advantage of today, and I don't want to.
Okay, I'll deal with that client. Don't worry, I'll avoid him next time. By the way, there's a gig tonight. It's a drinking event with a 5,000 yuan reward. With that, you can afford to enroll in the CPA training course. You have such good grades, and there are so few spots in the school's exam. Don't you want to give it a try? This opportunity won't come again. The pay is good, and I guarantee it's safe.
It was Sophia who introduced me to this line of work. I didn't know where she got her clients from, but the job was straightforward: do the task and get paid. She had a wide range of clients, and I helped her with the simpler, less troublesome ones. I had only recently started, and it was enough to support myself and my father. However, I couldn't take the final step of selling myself. I had my limits, and even being touched made me feel disgusted, let alone doing anything more. Just then, the phone rang again, pulling me out of my thoughts. I answered it.
Was it smooth? I just finished here too. How did it go on your end?
I laughed awkwardly, feeling uncomfortable at the memory of her earlier breathing. After a moment of silence, I said.
Sophia, I think this job is too dangerous. I was taken advantage of today, and I don't want to.
Okay, I'll deal with that client. Don't worry, I'll avoid him next time. By the way, there's a gig tonight. It's a drinking event with a 5,000 yuan reward. With that, you can afford to enroll in the CPA training course. You have such good grades, and there are so few spots in the school's exam. Don't you want to give it a try? This opportunity won't come again. The pay is good, and I guarantee it's safe.
Not drinking? John wouldn't be happy, and the contract wouldn't be signed, which would ruin things. But if I drank and ended up passing out, who knows what might happen? I trusted Michael to help me, but what if he didn't? Anything could happen when drunk, and I couldn't protect myself. If something went wrong, I couldn't blame anyone else. But I couldn't refuse to drink. Just as I was struggling with what to do, a hand pushed the glass in front of me aside and replaced it with a smaller one. I was startled.
Don't scare the young lady, take it easy. Such good wine should be enjoyed slowly. Let's use smaller glasses and savor it.
He poured a small amount and nodded towards me, indicating.
Toast David again.
I was stunned for a moment, then quickly nodded.
Yes, yes.
I raised my glass, suppressing my discomfort, and looked at John.
Cheers!
John didn't move, his eyes showing a hint of anger. Sensing the tension, I didn't want things to escalate. I reached for the larger glass, but John grabbed me, causing me to stumble into his lap. It seemed casual, yet it was so intimate. John laughed heartily, holding my face and kissing me hard.
Good, good, you know your place. I won't make it difficult for you, huh?
I felt nauseous, instinctively pushing his arms away.
You don't know the rules. The wine spilled, clean it up.
I was stunned, looking down at my dress soaked in wine. But it wasn't my fault.
Move! Don't you understand?
Startled, I quickly got up, breaking free from John's grasp, and walked out. As I left, Michael's empty glass spun in the air, his face calm with a smile. The wine on me was his doing, giving me an excuse to leave. When I returned, John was clearly drunk, leaning back and laughing foolishly, his eyes unfocused. Seeing me, he just smiled without any further action. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Earning this $5,000 was not easy. After half an hour of drinking, I was feeling tipsy and drowsy, barely holding on with my head propped up, hoping time would pass quickly. Suddenly, John perked up, grabbing me and mumbling something. It took a while to understand he wanted me to toast him, saying I had neglected him. I was stunned, my mind blank. I obediently poured the drink and slurred.
Supervisor, you drink too. It's no fun just watching me.
John glanced at me, then laughed, looking at the drink in my hand.
You want me to drink? Fine, is there a reward?
His greasy smile made me uneasy. I was confused. Reward? What reward? I looked at Michael, hoping for an answer, but he was focused on his food, avoiding my gaze. Panic set in, and I nervously clutched the glass, trying to think.
Silly girl, the reward is simple. You'll find out soon. First, drink all this, and I'll sign the contract. Our deal will be done, haha.
He raised an eyebrow, his face full of cunning. I just smiled foolishly, feeling relieved when he signed the contract. I nodded vigorously without hesitation and downed my drink in one go. The mix of foreign liquor and other random drinks tasted awful, burning and pungent, lingering in my throat before finally sliding down into my stomach. It churned violently, but I managed not to throw up, though my stomach felt like it was on fire. Seeing me down several drinks, John laughed even louder. In my days, I felt a hand on my waist, and my body tensed up. I instinctively pushed it away, offering him the drink instead, my voice hoarse.
Sir, you drink too.
Sure, I'll drink. You're really pretty, haha.
His chubby fingers pinched my cheek, numbing half my face with pain. I rubbed my face in confusion, telling myself to endure a little longer. It would be over soon, and if I couldn't stand it, I could just slip away. I gritted my teeth and downed another drink, watching John finish his glass of white liquor. I stood up to leave. Unexpectedly, he reached out and grabbed my waist. I froze, sensing danger. Despite having drunk a lot, my alertness hadn't diminished. I pushed him hard, but my legs gave way, and I stumbled backward. Another hand caught me from behind. I turned instinctively and saw Michael's hand. I stared at him for a moment, realizing he didn't mean to take advantage of me but just didn't want me to fall. However, John clearly had other intentions.
Boss, I need to use the restroom.
Taking the opportunity, I tried to escape. The contract was signed, and my task was done. Staying any longer would only lead to trouble. But I had drunk too much. My mind was clear, but my body felt unresponsive, like I was walking on clouds, numb all over. John, already quite drunk, barely kept his eyes open. He wouldn't let me go, raising his glass and pressing it to my lips. I struggled, but his grip tightened, his hand heavy on my shoulder like a mountain. The strong smell of alcohol and cigarettes mixed with his sweat stench made me dizzy. In desperation, I bit his hand hard. He got angry, pressing my head down and forcing 2 more drinks into me, making me choke and cry. I cursed him inwardly. Seeing my disheveled state, John laughed even harder, satisfied, and said to Michael,
I like this girl. Haha, that's enough. Let's have a good partnership from now on.
I slumped over the table, breathing heavily, my heart pounding like a drum. Suddenly, a hand touched my back. John's hand slid over, his palm rough against my exposed back. I had worn a tight, flesh-colored camisole under my backless dress, but I could still feel his hand painfully rubbing my skin. Weak and powerless, I could only whimper. John whispered something in my ear, but I didn't catch it. I tried to move away, but a pair of strong hands lifted me up. The scene spun, and I fell into his embrace. I had no strength left, weakly pushing him away, only to be held tighter.
Don't push me, sweetheart. It just makes me want you more. I'm drunk. Let's get a room.
Buzz! My head exploded. I tried to push him away, but I was too weak. The difference in strength between men and women was too great. He saw my struggle as playing hard to get.
Don't push me, sweetheart. I'm losing control. If I take off my pants here, it'll be a joke, haha.
I wanted to cry. I couldn't go with him. Wasn't it just supposed to be drinking? I struggled, but my body was too weak, like a rag doll at his mercy. Suddenly, the footsteps of the burly man stopped, and he mumbled something. I struggled to lift my head from his embrace and saw Michael standing in front of us. The light above was too bright, and he was a bit far from me, so I couldn't see his expression clearly. But seeing him felt like grabbing a lifeline, and I reached out, hoping he would help me.
Michael, help me! I don't want to go.
I didn't know if he heard me, but he didn't move. I panicked and cried out.
Help me! I don't want to go. Help me!
As I was about to be taken away, I knew I was doomed. I screamed, my sharp voice echoing through the hallway, but Michael remained still, watching me indifferently. My hand reached out to him, grasping at the air, my helpless tears streaming down my face. The rough hands of the burly man squeezed my chest painfully, and I screamed.
Ah!
Suddenly, Michael walked over and looked down at me. I wiped my tears away harshly, looking at him with pleading eyes. He didn't look at me but spoke to John.
Let me take you. If you want a room, I'll find one. Emma is my employee, and it might be inconvenient.
I clung to his sleeve, unable to speak or muster any strength, only knowing not to let him go. John was reluctant, grumbling and barely standing, his tongue slurring as he spoke to Michael.
Michael, I just want this one in my arms. Can't I? She's too tempting. I just want her. Do you want her too?
Michael chuckled, said something I couldn't hear, and stepped aside. My heart sank. I cried and struggled, but it was all in vain. The scene shifted, and with a loud bang, a door was slammed shut, and I was thrown onto the bed. Just as John was about to undress me, the door was suddenly kicked open. John was immediately furious.
Who are you?
It turned out that 2 drunk men had been fighting and crashed into the room, breaking the door. Seeing John, one of the drunk men, in a fit of rage, smashed a bottle over his head. John fell to the ground, injured. I took advantage of the chaos and ran out in a panic. After narrowly escaping, I returned to school and cried under my blanket. Just as I was feeling heartbroken, I received a call from home. Emma, come back quickly. Your dad was in an accident and didn't make it. In shock, I couldn't even form a coherent sentence. I rushed back home overnight and finally understood what had happened. My dad had gone out drinking the night before and decided to go to town to play mahjong, riding his scooter. Because he was under the influence and it was late at night, he recklessly rode in the middle of the road and was hit by a truck. For a moment, I didn't know whether to feel sad or not. After arranging my dad's funeral, I sold everything at home and returned to school. Since my dad was partly at fault, the truck driver was sentenced to a few months and compensated me with $10,000. Combined with our savings, I bought a one-bedroom apartment in the eastern suburbs. I told Sophia that I would never rent myself out again and moved out of the school dormitory. Looking at the sunrise, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief and relaxation. As I opened the door to go grocery shopping, the door across from me opened as well. Michael walked out, and seeing me, he smiled lightly.
Going together?
I suddenly remembered that he was the heartthrob from my middle school days. I pressed my lips together and said,
Sure.
A happy life was slowly beginning.